peace, and grand rising to the sovereign, originating, indigenous, natural heirs. Today is January 27th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the civil Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, living, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American, Article 3, court action. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. We are the sovereign living justices, in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in proprio profanus juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, ancient, natural, divine Empire State of Morocco and the de jure Moorish National Republic Federal Government, the Universal Moorish American Consulate, and the Article 3 Universal Moorish American Consular Court. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state. We are one empire, and we are one God. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights and all dominion at this time and at all points in time. Nunc pro tunc. So last week on Thursday, we did a court action and a lien on OSHA, and we put that on the public record. OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration that in corporate capacity, it was claiming to be the one mandating, quote unquote, vaccines and tests in the workplace, which we consider to be violations of the natural body. So we did a court action and a lien and made it clear that that was not that those orders, those commands did not come from us. Therefore, they cannot do them on our land. So we've just been watching the same place where we saw that they were claiming to have some authority to do that on our land. And as we were going through our studies and just looking things up, the results of our court action were published. Right after we did it, maybe a few days after we did the court action on Thursday. This article right here came out on yesterday, 2 days ago rather, the 25th. This article says, OSHA scraps its vaccine mandate for large employers after the Supreme Court dealt requirements a mortal blow. Mortal blow. So they have scrapped what they were doing, and I'll put, and it's saying for large employers because OSHA does not really deal with the smaller companies and resources on our land. The link to that story is in the chat, and I'll also put the link to it under this video. Now, here's one thing we know about everything that we do. The ones that were previously doing business at the Supreme Court, they are actually subject to the Moors and, in fact, are not a Supreme Court. We're the Supreme Court. And then all of the other courts on our land are when we put them in their proper place and in subject status, they then become inferior courts according to the Constitution. The Constitution clearly states that the power and the authority is vested in one Supreme Court and in all other inferior courts as the Congress may deem necessary. We know that we're the Congress also. So as we speak, we're seeing it all over the land. They actually, when we're competent, they will do exactly as commanded. This came out January 25th. It says OSHA will stop requiring large companies to enforce vaccinations or testing for COVID-19. The emergency temporary standard will be withdrawn as of Wednesday, according to court documents, and they put court in all lowercase letters, court documents. And then it said the Biden administration is working on a permanent vaccine standard, OSHA wrote. Now, they didn't say a COVID-19 standard, they said a vaccine standard. It says the Occupational Safety and Health Administration announced on Tuesday that it will stop requiring large employers to have their employees get vaccinated or tested for COVID-19. So they put a complete stop on that. As of Wednesday, the emergency temporary standard will be withdrawn, of course, the court document seen by Insider. So then we say, okay, well, when we're talking about things like that, we're not just talking about OSHA, we're talking about all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof. This is what governing looks like on our land in its stages that it's in right now. Is when we put something on the public record together and we say together, this is what we're doing, they have to do exactly as commanded. So then yesterday, on the same day, this came out. And this was, and you can see the link to it there, and I'll put the link in the chat as well to this one. On the same day, it says, Biden administration withdraws COVID vaccine mandate for businesses after losing Supreme Court case. They don't have a choice but to do as commanded, because when we're competent and we're in our proper status and we're moving together, when the Empire State of Morocco speaks, and that's all Moors, and we speak together, it is mandatory. It's the law. It's not something that we're guessing at. It's not anything that we think maybe. No. We've been the law. Our ancestors put this in place for us a long time ago. So in reality, this is nothing new. It's not new. Everyone's been expecting us to do it. Moving together, though, that's the key, because sometimes we do demonstrations and we're thinking about ourselves. And, you know, Moors need domiciles, we need the buildings and the businesses and all that. We get that. We need to show that we are completely interested in the land as a whole. And that's what this is all about. Seek ye first the kingdom, or the empire, in our case. Seek ye first the empire, and all of those things will be added unto us. Period. We just have to stay on the public record, watching what's going on the land, and then speaking directly to it in competent court fashion and action. And we're speaking things that have everything to do with anything that might affect the Moors specifically, because the estate is based on us. And then also the citizens, the subjects, by way of the resources that are already ours. And our resources were previously doing business as corporations. every last one of them is a resource for the Moors. We tell them what to do. They don't. It's not the other way around. It's not about. But we had to come together like we've done. And I'll tell you what one of the most effective measures that we've taken is, and that's putting our vote on issues that have to do with the empire on the land. Again, we know that Moors need domiciles and things like that. In order for Moors to even be safe in a domicile, we got to get all this other madness taken care of. Because for Moors who want to work, they don't need to be subjected to that. How can they keep a domicile if they're having to be forced to do all of these other things by entities that are not government? So when we seek first the empire, all of that stuff comes, and it comes peacefully, and it's very easy. It becomes easy, and things are getting easier and easier for us as we keep our energy in its proper place. Humility is humble is really good, and it doesn't look like what we thought it looked like. You know, some people think humble is coming with your hat in your hands and, you know, step and fetch it and all of that. That's not humility. That is, you know, being not, you know, nice and being stupid. But our ancestors put everything in place for us already. And all we have to do is continue governing and make the all whole our priority, our top priority. Because when we think about everybody, we're automatically going to get remedy for the things that are bothering us, that the things that are not peaceful on our land, and the things that we may feel like we're lacking. But it has to be us speaking together despite the issues that we have going on individually. Those things will remedy as we speak, as we put, you know, stand forth, being the people, being the law, being the government. Seek ye first the empire, and all of that stuff will be added. It is written. It's written in the ancient laws. And sometimes, you know, people will point to one incident and other incidents and this and that going on in the nation and say, oh, you know, that doesn't, Let's work together to remedy the giant, huge issues for everyone. And then at the territorial level, now we've taken care of those other levels, the ones that's supposed to be, you know, that were pretending to be the heads over there. We dealt with that. It's written. So now in our territories, if there are any wayward subjects doing business as corporations, then we deal with them the same way. A lien on the public record, a court action, and then put them in subject status. And then give them some commands that, hey, you're just a custodian. You don't own anything here. You're a custodian of that company and those resources, and you don't own any of that. We give the commands on how our resources are to be used, period. That's what our ancestors meant for us to do. And of course, they're going to bliss everything we do when we put the estate first, because it's about all of us and not just one or two of us or each of us individually. The all comes before the one, because it is one for all and all for one. That's true. One for the all. I'm for the all. And I know you all are for the all too. We're all for each other. And then all of us for the one. That's how we stay together and make things happen on this vast estate. That's how it's done. Our ancestors are proving that. Because every time we speak together to the resources do as commanded, rather quickly, actually. And when we put it on the public record, make no mistake about it, the ones that were previously doing business as, Supreme Court and all of that, do you think that anyone is missing what we're doing? Nope, they see it. They see it. And then when we say something, we say, okay, these are your commands. And they say, okay, the heirs have spoken. We got to go out and make sure everybody notice the agent is notice the principal is notice the agent on these things. And here's the thing. When we say it here on this landmass, it applies earthwide because they were taking their cues and things from here because of us. So we have to put the estate first, and when we put the estate first, no one will go lacking anything. Okay, no one. People are, So with that being said, again, by court action, in red and all lowercase letters, with liens that are done as court actions, and each and every document that goes out as a court, it is a court action. And then making sure that each and every one of us does the appellation change and judicial proclamation and the termination of corporate contracts, the proclamation of trust, a lien on the United States Corporation Company wardship name, and the nom de guerre, because they had no authority to create any of that anyway. It never did apply to us. We actually had to consent to being that because it wasn't us. So we had to actually turn around and say, in our ignorance, that, we thought that was us, but it's not us. And then replace that with Empire State of Morocco credit conveyance utilities that it seems like they look just like those debtor conveyance utilities. Except it's always on Moorish government letterhead, and make no mistake about it, the letterhead matters. When you're sending your documents around, your letterhead should be, for each document, it should be the same. There should be no difference in the letterhead that you use. The letterhead for the lien should be the same as the letterhead for your name change and your appellation change and judicial proclamation. And it should always state government, state, etc. And the flags should be on there. At least these two flags behind me should be on there. Okay, the flags. It's imperative that we do those things and that we all speak with one voice, because there are some people who are, and it's not many, it's just 2 or 3 who've been doing this for so long, and they still don't know that everybody needs to have a government on their letterhead. The government must be on there. And then our letterhead has Empire State of Morocco. I received a call this week from the Shawnee Nation, and I'm just, my heart just, it just really fills when I speak to the other nations, because the awakening is real. And the Shawnee Nation, they called specifically because they want to be the Shawnee Nation, but they know they're more. And they were asking, how do we do that? We want to be part of what you're doing. but we want to still be the Shawnee. I said, you can be the Shawnee Moors all day, every day. You can be yourself. It needs to, the letterhead needs to be attached to the flag, because this is the most ancient flag, the red, the green, five-pointed star, most ancient. So no matter what tribe that you're with or what nations you're with, you can use Moorish National Republic Federal Government letterhead and Empire State of Morocco letterhead and the flags and all of that, and then put your nation on there. Put your nation's flag on there. Just make sure that these two flags, the flag for the land and the flag for the estate, and you know, they mean the same thing. And then also this week, we've had some successes too. Thank you, Justice. Before we started the recording, we were hearing the success that's going on the east coast of our great nation. And I will say this week we had, and she's probably on the call, but I'm not gonna say her appellation, but we had a 22-year-old new Moor to run a fake judge off the bench. And all she did was ask a few questions and do it by court action. And they couldn't say anything. They had to get on off that bench and shut that down. And of course, you know, they're trying to come back, and, you know, they want to try and come back and see if they can get jurisdiction again, but they can't. They can't. It's a wrap. So I'm just so proud of our nation. Let me point something out also. This is a statement that was made by Theodore Roosevelt, who was doing business as president. He made this statement at Norfolk, Virginia, April 26, 1907. And here's what it says. It says, we of this mighty Western Republic have to grapple with the dangers that spring from popular self-government, tried on a scale incomparably vaster than ever before in the history of mankind, and from an abounding material prosperity greater also than anything which the world has hitherto seen. He says, as regards the first set of dangers, it behooves us to remember that men can never escape being governed. Either they must govern themselves or they must submit to being governed by others. If from lawlessness or fickleness, from folly or self-indulgence, they refuse to govern themselves, then most assuredly in the end they will have to be governed from the outside. They can prevent the need of government from without only by showing they possess the power of government from within. A sovereign cannot make excuses for his failures. A sovereign must accept the responsibility for the exercise of power that inheres in him. And where, as is true in our republic, the people are sovereign, then the people must show a sober understanding and a sane and steadfast purpose if they are to preserve orderly liberty upon which, as a foundation, every republic must rest. A sovereign cannot make excuses for his failures. Why? Because if you look at the word sovereign in the dictionary, it says no excuses from the ruler, and each and every one of us is the ruler of our affairs and of our state, our empire state, the ancient empire state. Each one of us is a ruler in our own right. Each one of us is a justice, a judge, a consul, the government, the law. He was saying what he was saying here because at that time, the switch was happening, okay? And they were saying, grappling with the dangers that spring from popular self-government, because we have a lot of authority. We have all authority is in the hands of the Moors. All authority is in our hands. And so, as we're standing and doing what we're doing, know that they've always known about us. If you'll remember, in 1907, they saw our prophet getting ready and learning the things he was learning and being shown the things he was being shown from the ancestral energy. And then, 6 years later was 1913? From 1907 to 1913, when our prophet started the old Canaanite temple. And then the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, they did that in order to try and get away from what our prophet was doing, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was doing. That's how important what we're doing is yes, they're watching. Yes, they're watching. Yes, they're supposed to. And as we're doing what we're doing in standing and governing and being tested, we affirm that we're being tested. We know that. And as we're being tested, there's some watching and watching just to see how we do on the test, and I'll tell you more, we are really, as a nation and as a people, as the law and as the government, we're testing very well. We're testing very well. There have been some a few tests that didn't go as planned, but we're getting better at it, much better. We're becoming more competent. And we can see that when we're competent, they have to stand down. They have to stand down. What does competence look like? Foundational documents in red and all lowercase letters with allegiance to the Empire State of Morocco, which is ancient. And some people call it Al-Morocco. Some people call it ancient Morocco. Some people call it whatever you want to call it. Just know that your allegiance is with the ancient state, the ancient government, as set up by our ancestors. And a statement of allegiance is not a bad idea. Just adding a statement of allegiance, which, like what we have in this court action language at the top of the page. The statement, our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are, and then we state where our allegiance lies: the Empire State of Morocco, the de jure Moorish National Republic Federal Government, the Universal Moorish American Consulate, and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. That's going to keep us all together. All together. We're unstoppable. Unstoppable when we stay together. Having said that, are there any questions or comments or anything of that nature with regard to anything that we're doing? You can just star 6. We're not in lecture mode. We didn't have to do lecture mode. So if you have any questions or comments about what's going on, or if there's something going on in your territory, and if not, I would love to hear how things are going for those who want to kind of give an update on any changes that you're seeing in your territory, because that's important. I know in this territory, our ancestors are making it clear that we need to continue to unify, and that's in all territories. We need to continue to unify. We must continue to unify at all territories. It's important because coming together in the physical creates a sphere of energy that changes the atmosphere in the territory. Because, see, in the past, whenever you see older photos of the Moors, you just see a large quantity of Moors, and they were all wearing white, and they're headed out, or they're all wearing black, or they're all wearing the crimson, or, you know, something of that nature, and headed out to go and govern the land. It's time for us to come forward and make our presence, our physical presence in this dimension known. And it doesn't have to be a big splash. It can just be a passing of a document here and there as we demonstrate our sovereign status. And then getting ourselves free from the capitalism of the United States Corporation Company. Because, see, that's the only way they can ever come at us. That is the one and only way that they can attempt, because they can't even come at us with that when we know it. They can't. Do they try? But we have to, our capitalism must remain with us as the Empire State of Morocco doing capitalism on the land. We capitalize, because capitalism is those instruments. Capitalism is Pauline Denise Ritchie in blue, in capitis diminutio minima, which is the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase. That's Pauline Denise Ritchie. That is an instrument of the Empire State of Morocco. So we're the fiduciary. The living are the fiduciary of those instruments, and we can use them however we choose to use them to get the credit on our land and the benefits on our land, okay, because we've already leaned the black and all of that the United States Corporation Company was issued. And I'll tell you this, we sent some emails out to one of the inferior courts, and when we first saw emails from them, before we ever sent anything out, the Moor who was dealing with that inferior court sent an email to us, forwarded one to us, to see what they were saying. And they had everything in black, okay? And then after we sent some court actions to them, they did like the other courts do. They come up from the dead and they start writing in blue. They will at least sign it where in blue, their email, they'll put their if it's a judicial center or some whatever it is, inferior court, they'll put it in blue, and then they'll put their name in either blue or red. It just depends. But all rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. That's raising them from the dead. And then speak to them and give them commands and ask them questions and do like Justice Dawood was saying before we started recording, a core warrant show. I like to do spoken core warrant shows. What gives you the authority to do what you're doing, because we have not? This sovereign court has not given any authority or leg to anybody, because when we say we haven't given any legs to anybody, that means delegation of authority. Some people say delegation of authority. That's giving them legs. We haven't arm, leg, arm, head. We have them right here. They're ours. We haven't given them to anyone. So show us where that's happening at, because we haven't done it. And we're the people. we're the government, we're the law. And I'll say this about them. They're going to, continue testing. They're going to continue testing, and that's fine, because that's why we're all here, is to test up. Test up into the estate, the grand rising. So I had another topic that I was going to speak on this week that I wanted to share with you because it's so important. But we're going to put that one off for next week because I'm right in the middle of a demonstration with it, and I want to be able to show what all is this done and what's been accomplished with that topic. We already got this, so more. It's already a wrap. We just have to continue demonstrating and competently, peacefully. We don't have to yell. We don't have to argue back and forth with them or anything. Just be ourselves. Islam nobility.
Islam emphasized Morley Bay,
yes.
UK territory.
I cannot hear you. It sounds a little muffled. Can you speak up just a little bit?
Let's see if it might be better. Is that better?
Yes.
Better?
Yes.
Oh, great. That's
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's Morley Bay, UK territory. Wanted to ask you a question. I know we did the fiduciary document a few weeks now, or we've been speaking about it. One of the questions is, say, this court action that we've got here, it hasn't got an appellation on it, and I was going to ask you if it was on it.
It sounds muffled. Is it just me, or?
No, it's probably my, I don't know. Is that any better?
Yeah,
we can't hear him.
Up just a little?
Yeah,
they can't hear you.
You can't hear?
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, nobility. If you could speak up just loud, speak up louder, yeah.
Yeah, let me try and get closer to the mic. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. My question is, the appellations that we have, and the corporate names, or the straw names that we previously had, we completed the fiduciary documents. So from what my understanding is, from completing that fiduciary document, we actually claiming that straw name for ourselves. Is that right? And we can use it as we so please. So if we need to do any documents, we can actually use those names, or we can use the new appellation name.
Okay, so I'll just pull up my fiduciary document, and that way you can see exactly what we do create. We're not claiming anything from the United States Corporation Company. We're actually creating our own for our own sovereign state. So let me pull up mine, and then you can take a look at it. Because I want to be sure that we're clear on what exactly we're doing with the fiduciary document. It's important that we know the difference between something that's issued by a dead state and something that is issued by the entire state, okay? So, here, let me put this on the screen. Because that's a great question, and it is actually one of the most important concepts and precepts ever. What we're doing is taking complete control of our own capitalism, okay? Because the others have capitalized us, and we did not know that that's what was happening, okay? There's a little bit of an echo, Nobility. I'm going to put you on hold for not hold, but on mute for just a moment, so that echo can. Okay, and then just star 6 whenever you're ready. So, with the fiduciary document, our Empire State needed to issue creditor conveyance methods. What is a creditor conveyance method? It's an enacted, a creature of the state, a creature for the state. Our state. Our state is a who, it's not a what. Okay? Because we were stateless before, or we appeared to be stateless before. We appeared to be stateless. And every time we saw a piece of paper with a creature of the state, of the dead state on it, for example, Pauline Denise Ritchie, before I woke up, whenever I saw that on a piece of paper, I thought that was me. But it wasn't me, nor did I have control over it, because it was issued at birth by the United States Corporation Company. But the origin of the original doesn't come from the United States Corporation Company. It comes from our sovereign mothers. So the day that we crossed the sovereign stargate, our sovereign mothers gave us not only our sovereign status, the crown was put on us that day. That's why they call it crowning at birth. And our mothers made us, they created us and brought us into the earth realm. And our mothers said a sovereign-born appellation. My mother, she named me after my sovereign grandmother, Pauline. But then, and when she said it, it was sovereign. And it was in all lowercase letters in red because of the bloodline. That's when she spoke the word, because in the beginning was the word. The word was God and the word was God. God was birthing and creating. That's our mothers, all of our mothers. And at the end of the table was a corporate harbor master who took our mother's words and them. He heard the words. He said, well, let's hypothecate and bastardize and make something that sounds similar to what she said. And then we'll get her consent to say this is what she said, when that's not really what she said. Our mothers never created debtors. They can't create debtors because they're the creditor eternally, whether they knew it or not. So the United States Corporation Company had that creation, and they created other derivatives, which a Social Security number is a derivative, is as issued by them. Birth certificates, school records, shop records, vaccination records, all of those are derivatives issued by the United States Corporation Company. We have to properly rebut those because that's not us. Nor do we control those things. Those are creatures from below. As above, so below. So what do we have to do from above, from our sovereign status, is we take complete control and dominion and possession by fiduciary responsibility of those mechanisms. And we're not taking the ones that the United States Corporation Company, the dead one, created. We don't need that. That one is dead. It was born dead. So our sovereign state births the living one, the living conveyance method. And that's what the fiduciary document is. So the fiduciary document simply states the fiduciary is in control of all of that. So now you asked me about the appellation, our free national appellation. and our sovereign-born appellation. Okay? So what I did on my fiduciary document, because I have used both, is in monochrome ink, as issued by the Empire State of Morocco, I put these Pauline Denise Ritchie and all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any and all derivatives thereof in black monochrome font. In capitis nolo, by the way, this is in all lowercase letters. It's not black as in B-L-A-C-K, dead, all capital letters in brackets. It's not that one because that's the dead state. That's issued by them. That one's been leaned. And there's a video out on YouTube where I did a court action, and I leaned anything related to anything that the United States Corporation Company issued. In 2017, when I was being tested in the state court system, I was newly awakened, and I told them that my name is not Pauline, it's Lajiri Bay. So what did they do? The United States Corporation Company did the same thing that they did on the day I was born. They took my sovereign words that I said to them, I'm like Tajiri Bay, and they capitalized them and bastardized them. Why? Because no state had claimed me yet. And it's not me, it's no state had claimed those instruments yet and the words. So when no state, because we hadn't said on the public record, we're the state. So then the state, corporate debtor state said, hey, these are some free radicals running around out here. Let's capitalize them. And then tell them what to do. And they did that with both of these. Pauline Denise Ritchie and Light Tajiri Bay from their creation, not these two. These two are Empire State creations. So the answer to your question, nobility, is it's up to you. You're the sovereign. You get to choose. You get to choose. Pauline Denise Ritchie is Bay in her blood. That's me. As created by the Empire State. I'm a Bay, period. I was born a Bay. My mother didn't even know, but I was born a Bay. So I'm always going to be the Bays, the L's, we're all that, all of us. So whether I use Pauline Denise Ritchie, the Bay, because Bay is actually an office. The Bay is the law enforcer. The L is the lawmaker, right? And those mean others, they, as usual, all words in our sovereign language has more than one meaning. All words have more than one meaning. They have multiple meanings and in the multiple dimensions. L means God in the metaphysical as well as the physical dimension. God is the lawmaker. That's the Moors. So the answer to your question is, on the fiduciary document, I went ahead and put both because I am still like Tajiri Bay. I'm Pauline Denise Ritchie. I'm Pauline Denise Lawhorn Emmanuel Ritchie Moore, because those are all a part of my vast estate as well. My mother's maiden name is Lawhorn. And that might have something to do why I love the law so much. My grandmother, her mother's name, her appellation rather, was Pauline Emmanuel, like Emmanuel. And then my sovereign-born appellation is Ritchie. My kinship appellation is Ritchie. And then my consort is Moore. And he's from Mecca, no less. No more, no less. He's from Mecca, all the more. So he's always been more throughout the ages in his bloodline. And we've met long before I ever woke up or knew anything about being a Moor. So because they're issued by the Empire State. On the fiduciary document, you can put all of that. And then I put the United States of America and the United States Corporation Company because, and these actually, it would actually be a good idea to put these in blue. But I can put them in monochrome, black, DLAQUE, right here, monochrome. Because again, all of this is us. We have authority over these. Let me just say that. Because we're the originals of all of these. And then these are conveyance methods. We're the original United States or America in red and all lowercase letters. And I just put on, and this is my fiduciary document, these are all issued by the sovereign state, all of them. Therefore, we have dominion over them, which automatically makes these creditor conveyance methods. So with each and every one of my demonstrations, I always send the fiduciary document out with what I'm doing. Okay? And there, right there, is Empire State of Morocco, fiduciary. The quote-unquote sovereign citizen, and there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen, you know that. But when we were asleep and they were pretending to use our status, they would say that they were the authorized representative of a United States Corporation Company creation, which never worked, really. That doesn't work. Fiduciary is a trustee. We have an estate. An authorized representative means that you're actually representing something, and Moors don't represent anything. We present ourselves. We present ourselves. So on the document, it's your choice, nobility. That's the answer to the question. On mine, I'm have dominion over all of this, everything. Because we can. Islam.
Thank you for that explanation. I am more clear now about the sovereign name and our affiliation. Thank you very, very much for that.
I can't hear you, nobility. And we do know you're calling from the UK.
Yes, that's right.
So I know the lines might be a little lower, in terms of the volume because you're there. But if you could speak up just a little louder, that would help us. So we want to be sure we hear every word that proceeds out of your mouth.
Okay, I'm right up to the mic now. Hopefully it's not distorted. I just want to say thank you for that explanation. We are now more clear about the sovereign name and our appellation. Sovereign names, not sovereign. Our sovereign, and our appellation. So we were a little bit not confused, but just wanted to be sure about the explanation. But thank you for explaining that.
Yes, Islam. I just know that over, as we're demonstrating and doing the things that we're doing, that in many cases we've used either one or the other. But here's one thing I know, that whenever you're dealing with the corpses and the subjects, when you're dealing with them, they use the born appellation. Now, this is for subjects use the born. In order to administer the estate, because, see, the subjects are the ones at the different businesses and things like that. Once we've leaned those businesses and put everybody in their proper status, the subjects are the ones there saying, what do you need? And when they say, what do you need, they're going to use the sovereign-born appellation. because that is the creditor. They know that. So when you go to somewhere, let's just say a conveyance place to get a conveyance, which some call automobile, and they want to do the exchange, the first thing they're going to do is pull up the things that have to do with the sovereign-born appellation in order to match the record so that proper identification of the parties is going to be key, as with all court actions. Because did you know that even when you're doing, commerce, that those are court actions, every last one of them? That's why they're always asking for identification and this and that and the third. So the sovereign-born appellation is holy also, but it's holy when it's issued by the holy ones, which is the Moors. Sumus, sanktam, unum. We are the holy ones. We're the Vatican. We're all of that. We're the Pope, the original ones, not the evil ones. And so anytime there is ministry of the estate, it's going to be done in the sovereign-born appellation. Now, at any time, we can, we Moors, and many have done this, can say, I don't want to be called that anymore. I am this. I am this name, this appellation. And all of that is great. Moors can do whatever they want. When we're competent, they have to do it anyway. They have to do it anyway. I just find that it's easier and more comfortable for me to know that I'm the one ministering that Pauline Denise Ritchie from the Empire Sovereign State, and not fake trying to do it, or trying to trip somebody up into saying, knitting, or claiming a straw or something like that. Nope. Every demonstration that I do, the fiduciary document goes with it. But my demonstrations are always, quite thick anyway. It's a bunch of affidavits. That way, whatever it is that we're doing is self-executing. They don't have to call in a notary because that's theirs. They don't have to call the Treasury because we're the Treasury and we have the currency controller document there. And we have proof that the fake Treasury knows about all that we're doing. We have proof of all of that. And we'll talk about that next week on Thursday. I have some things that I wanted to show you, demonstrations that we're doing. And the only reason I'm waiting until next Thursday to do it is because I am, like I say, in the middle of some research and some demonstrations here so I can show how those things are being done. But it's easier for me, and I feel more comfortable knowing that I'm the one ministering my estate, and that there's no confusion about who I am. The fiduciary document makes it clear that we're the fiduciaries of the creditor conveyance method and instrument, known as enacted and things like that. A nom de guerre is a war name, and enacted is a creation of the law. They look, on paper, they look the same, but whose paper is issuing it is the key. That's the key. And did you properly decapitate that other one? It has to be decapitated. That means removal from office. I had to remove Pauline Denise Ritchie as created by the United States Corporation Company, the court version. I had to remove that thing from office because that thing did not come from the living. It came from the dead. And that's why they would pull that thing and try and start doing dead actions and trying to summon the dead to their graveyard court, etc., and trying to feed the living dead food using that creature that they created that thing. So what did we do? We a lien, a court action, arrest command on that thing. And I'll say this more, this is another key to ministry of the estate, is that thing that they issued, they issued 3 arrest warrants for that thing that they issued. Okay? Remember though, I told you, I shared with you rather, that when we're born, if the Moors are not at the end of the table delivering our own babies and bringing our own babies in and documenting our own babies, then the United States Corporation Company court entities at the end of the table, acting in corporate status, are going to issue first a birth certificate, which is a warrant for arrest. Okay? It's a warrant for arrest. Whenever they turn those things into the quote unquote Federal Reserve, it says it's a warrant. Why? 1938 Federal Foreign Agent Registration Act. That thing is foreign. And it's a United States enemy combatant because it's warring against the people. Now, does that mean burn them and throw them away? Nope, we're going to use them as evidence. We're going to use them as evidence. But what we're doing now is creating our own sovereign living birth affidavit as issued by the Empire State of Morocco. We put our statehood on the public record. Any Moors can use it. Create your own, and in anytime corpses are trying to move on you and get you to claim to be a corpse, all that needs to come out of your mouth is my allegiance is to the Empire State of Morocco and not for anything any other. My allegiance is, and my credit is with the Empire State of Morocco. What does that mean? Your credit is with you and not with any dead corpse trying to pretend to use, because all they're doing is commerce. They want to get some commerce from you because we're the creditors and they know that. So now when we do things like, let's just say someone wants to get a domicile, like recently I was dealing with, I was assisting someone who needed housing, but they were being tossed around back and forth as if they were the courts. Those fake courts were throwing their courts around like they do. They mistreat their courts real bad because it's a court. But when we put the proper documentation on the public record and say that the corpse is not us and a lien is done on that corpse, and we show them that, no, we're the fiduciary of the creditor conveyance method, here it is right here, then those who were previously doing business as housing and urban development and housing authority and this, that, and the third, they then become custodians. They're no longer a big corporation trying to send everybody to jail. They become subjects because we've risen them from the court dead status. And then as subjects, we say, okay, now that you're in subject status, find this Moor a domicile, using the resources that already belong to the Moors, because the Moors are the creditors. But those documents and statehood and liens on those dead entities must be on the record, and those people need to have a copy of it. They have to. I've noticed when we do that, you know, in assisting the Moors, when we first, and this happened today as a matter of fact, when we first sent out documents and said, no, that's not a court, and your boss is liened because the United States Corporation Company, I send that lien out with everything too. The lien, the court actions, the arrest, and I send all of that out. Their boss is liened. So now they're a subject of the Empire State of Morocco. So find the Moors some housing. And expedite it, because the Moors need domiciles. And that's how all of this is starting. We have to take dominion over at the place that we are right now, at where the need is the most. Okay? Someone who needs a roof over their head, okay, do they need to have to cut the lawn on a 36-acre place? No, they need a roof over their head right now so that they can study up to the 36-acre place. Because to whom much is given, much is required. And so those who are ready for the 36-acre place, they'll do the demonstration, and that's how, and they will get that place. Because they'll know how to take care of it and all of that. So it's a difference between dealing with them as a United States Corporation Company citizen versus being the Empire State of Morocco nationals whose land everyone is on, who needs a domicile and a place that is safe and taken care of so that they can take care of their heirs while they study, so that they're not under duress while they're studying. What does that mean? That means that the Moor who needs the place is going to have to do a lien on the social, because those things ain't getting them nothing anyway. Those things are not getting them in. They keep getting called into fake court and tossed around to and fro all over the place with those instruments issued by the United States Corporation Company. So they need to name appellation change, judicial proclamation, nationalities first. Termination of all corporate contracts, that's number 3 after the name of the appellation change and the judicial proclamation. A termination of all corporate contracts, and then a lien on those United States Corporation Company creatures. And listen carefully, and this is a little bit off, but not really. They've been telling us the whole time that those things are creatures. Have you heard of the movie called The Creature from the Black Lagoon? Okay. That's what that thing is. It is a creature from a black, murky water, lost at sea. Trying to come up onto the land and take others and have them lost at sea too. So are there any, hopefully, nobility, hopefully that answers what you asked earlier. It's important that we know the difference between the United States Corporation Company's creatures and then the creation of the gods. Go ahead, nobility. What were you saying?
Yes, most definitely. Thank you very much.
Yes, it is long.
Good explanation, and we understand that fully now. I've been asked as well to ask you, is there such a document as a lien on the straw man? Can you hear that? Is there such a document as a lien on the straw man?
The lien on the straw man. Are you asking, do we have an example of that or something?
Yes.
A template?
Is there a document that's got that? Do we have a document such as that?
Yes. Yes, it'll be under this video. There'll be a link to it under this video. Under this video, there'll be a link to a folder that has a bunch of documents in it. And you'll see the lien on, it'll say UCC1 lien on Pauline. And Pauline will be in all capital letters. Just click that open and you'll see a lien right there. And it's downloadable so you can make it your own and edit it and do whatever it is you need to do. For, you know, to put your information in there as the creditor, and then the United States Corporation Company and its agents, principals, heirs assigned as the debtor in brackets and black ink.
Okay, fantastic.
So it'll be under this video. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. One other question. At the bottom of our documents, we have in the footer, there's always writing, and the start of the writing is normally the NC, well, NC, and we're southeast, but I'm seeing some documents without that footer. Is it necessary to have that, those details at the bottom of the document? And if so, what should we be using, all of us? Obviously, each document will have their own unique number, but they'll all start with NC and then S plus E, I take it.
I am so sorry, Nobility. It sounded very muffled when you were talking, very muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize that it sounds that way. Can you repeat it if you don't mind? And just speak. If you have to yell it, just yell it. I'll hear it. I want to be able to assist.
That's okay. Is that any better? Maybe I was too close.
Yeah, that's better. That's better right there. Whatever you just did, that was better.
Yeah, I think I was too close. I was going too close to the mic, thinking I needed to be closer. Okay, so the first question you've answered regards to the lien. I can get the documents on the system at the bottom of this video. But the second question was the NC, what we call the NCR number. NCR number, MAC number at the footer on each document that we produce. There's normally a number down there that I see, and you know, preceded by, it's normally letters preceded by numbers. So my question is it necessary, first of all, to have that at the bottom of each document? And if so, where can we find the right number to go to that? Or is it something we can actually, you know, make, you know, not make up, but actually add ourselves, so we know what document it is?
Okay, so yes, let me repeat your question and make sure that that I heard you correctly. You're asking about the numbers of the documents. For example, on liens and court actions, they have an MAC number, an ACW number, and you want to know where those numbers come from. So you can make them. You can make those numbers your own. If you have a Moorish American Consulate number, if you have one, you can just put that number and then put a plus sign or a space, and then add 4 numbers to it, like 0001 for your first lien, 0002 for your second lien, and then for your court actions, put the word cause, C-A-U-S-E, because instead of cases, we have causes, and then put a number there. You can make those numbers up because that's your record keeping. Okay, it doesn't have to be a MAC number. It can even be, it can be a government number. And when I say government number, the entire state of Morocco has sovereign security numbers, which we all have. We all have a sovereign security number. You can use that and then add 4 digits to it for your documents, for each of your documents. So, but you can make that number up as long as your records, as long as you're keeping track of your records, and then you put them on the public record so you can refer back to them when you need to refer back to them. Yeah, those you can make up. You can make those yourself, the document numbers. Yeah, court action numbers, lien numbers, etc.
Islam interest. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I apologize that we can't hear as well, you know, with the lines. I'm sure it's technologically related, but we're glad you're here, Ms. Andy. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? That's all. Okay. So next week, we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my demonstration. We're going to clear up something that was really, some Moors even have left the movement because they could not really see what we're going to talk about next week. And then I'll give you examples of what, you know, of what remedy looks like, so that we know that remedy is happening. Okay? Because one thing I know about the Moors is when we're doing demonstrations, especially new Moors, and something happens, that something that happens sometimes looks like something negative when really it's the best thing to happen. In other words, for example, I'll give you an example. When Moors go to fake court and they start demonstrating their sovereign status, and the fake judge says, "Get him out of here, get her out of here, get her out of the court." Some Moors think that's bad, but it's not bad. Or when the fake judge leaves and doesn't come back. Those are some of the best results, because that means they're abandoning their commerce. It's a maxim at law that he who leaves the battlefield first loses. But Moors don't know that, so some Moors get upset, or they get nervous, or they think that they're, you know, or they'll say they wasn't trying to hear anything I was saying, when really they ran for the hills like they were supposed to, or they made it so that they're telling you you shouldn't be here. This is not your court. This court is not even worthy of your appearance. It's not worthy of your status. So we're going to talk about that and the things that surround that from a paperwork standpoint too. Okay, because it's important that Moors can see that that their demonstrations are working. Because sometimes, in many cases in the past, when I talk to Moors, and they say, and they'll call me in distress, because they'll say, I was on a call, a Zoom call, and they were supposed to be doing court stuff, and when I was talking to them about the Constitution, they hung up on me. And I'm thinking, yes, you did it. But the Moor is distressed because they're thinking they didn't want to hear anything I had to say. That's not bad. That's actually good, because they came to do commerce and they left the field first. And we'll show you the maxims of law that say that. What is a maxim? We'll talk about that next week. Maxims, in a nutshell, are someone's attempt to put natural law in words. That's what maxims are. Widely, generally, or I can't say widely, but generally accepted rules that are really natural law brought down to a lower place in the dimension. So we'll talk about that next week, and I'll show you some demonstrations that I've done and what that looks like, so that we can see that our demonstrations are working and the estate is wide open to us. We just have to be competent and know how to continue to move into full access of the estate as well. I had it all planned out for today, and the ancestors said, no, save that one for next week so you can finish your demonstration. Because usually when they give me information, I'm really quick to get it out to the heirs, and they're like, hold, just a minute. You got to finish what you're doing first. So we'll talk about that next week. If there's nothing further, this sovereign justice stands as law, sumus de sanctam unum, sumus de sanctam unum, sumus de sanctam unum, ovim oderan unimidicit in grande oderan. Amendico vobis, quae cumque, sumus veritas, superperamidum ligata, et in quaelo, et quae cumque sumus solveritas, superperamidum felicio, et in quaelo. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original indigenous, natural divine heirs.
Grand rising.
Grand rising, heirs.
Peace and love.
Grand rising. Thank you.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam.